Welcome everyone. Today we have another new episode, but I'm sure World Talent Economy Forums we have a huge audience from school, college, university, and different kind of NGOs. And from that particular point, I can share that everybody know about Dr. Ali Goabadi and Mr. Homestone are full team, and we have our new guest as well as like hopefully it will be very effective session for all of our youth community, especially those who want to know more about fourth industrial revolutions. Pacific Crime Business Council as well as California Miramar University. They are really doing a lot of work in the real industry as well as in academia. So we will learn a lot. We will learn a lot about fourth industrial revolution. I want to start from Dr. Ali Goabadi. Already he become famous in World Talent Economy Forums. Every day we are reaching 10 big university around Asia Pacific, and everybody know him as a philosopher for World Talent Economy Forum. Hello, doctor. How are you today?
Very good. Thank you so much. And I'd like to take this opportunity and welcome you first and foremost, Dr. Sauli. I have the honor of knowing him for a long time, and he's been gracious to accept our invitation. I mean, he's been all over these ideas that we are talking about. I mean, he's been a consultant, a vice president, director of technology at several firms, as well as he's been dean and assistant dean in universities, over 15 years of research and teaching experience. So welcome, dear Dr. Sauli. We are proud and happy to have you with us. And also I'd like to welcome Ms. Gorgian once again, a researcher in the area of resilience, organizational resilience, and personal resilience, and also an active member of the healing community in which offers healing solutions. So welcome all. Now today, as discussed before, we're planning to look at the concept of Industry 4.0. And everyone has been discussing it. It used to be that only a few would know what Industry 4.0 is all about, but no longer that's the case. Ever since 2016, which the term became very popular, today we see majority of Western nations having some sort of a national plan in trying to assimilate the different aspects of Industry 4.0. This is for the first time where we as human beings have been able to extend beyond tool making, because even the third industrial revolution, namely the use of computer and digital networks in trying to achieve better decision making and better machinery, has not done much as far as what it comes to having machines that are smart enough, paradigms that really allows us to have manufacturing without the intervention and even participation of human beings. For the first time in the history of mankind, we are able and capable of seeing dark factories. And why dark? Because there is no human being inside the factory, where machines talk to machines, where machines know exactly what they need to do with a particular piece of a device or component. Machines do not need interaction or intervention of human beings. We are at an era that only one would have been able to see it in science fiction novels and movies. Today, we have the capability of having cities that are absolutely smart, cities that interact with their citizens, homes that interact with their residents in a fashion that no one would have ever imagined before. We're talking about devices and capabilities that are so smart that human intervention and human interaction would only slow the process. We're talking about at the age of autonomous driving, autonomous manufacturing. We're talking about robots that are capable of interacting with human beings in ways no one would have imagined. And we just recently saw someone getting married to a robot and having such a great wedding. Now, I know that's just hoopla, but nevertheless, we are at the age in which some people have gone so far that one cannot imagine, while others have been left behind in a dust. No longer second best is good enough because of the reach of internet, because of the reach of uh, social media. Only winner take all is a solution. Only those who can produce the best quality at the best price can produce and can compete. The rest are doomed to fail. This is a very strange world we're living in, where only a few are in the light and the rest are left in the dark. Even though they feel they're very advanced, they have no room, no chance for survival. I think I'm going to stop right here and set the stage for the rest of my colleagues to discuss this concept, the concept that is very hopeful yet worrisome.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Ali. Uh, we have our honorable chairman from Pacific Rim Business Council. Sir, you have a lot of experience. You did a lot of business and work, and culturally, you have a good interaction with Asia Pacific. And even next year, I am sure that you have a lot of business plan, conference, summit, a lot of innovative things, and you are contributing a lot for fourth industrial revolutions in Asia Pacific as well as in North American parts. So, how do you want to introduce this concept, fourth industrial revolution, as well as I love to learn personally from you, from your experience.
Well, as you know, we've been around for 35 years, servicing hundreds of thousands of small businesses, helping them connect around the world so that they can grow. Uh, our whole premise from the beginning was human interactivity, human uh, connectivity, so that people could join people and they could grow through that relationship. But now with the 4.0, we're seeing more and more automation, robotics, and genomics, and a lot of new sciences, including environmental sciences, that are changing the landscape faster than these small companies can keep up with. So, what we're trying to do is we're trying to encourage them through, like the university here, to learn more about how they can use this technology and how this technology has progressed and use it for their everyday lives so that they don't fall behind. As Dr. Ali was just saying, those people that don't learn about it and use it and adhere to it are going to fall by the wayside. So, our job here is to educate and to motivate small businesses to utilize this technology to the fullest.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. We have our new guest, Professor Souli. Sir, can you please introduce yourself because you are new for World Talent Economy Forums, as well as if you introduce your concept on fourth industrial revolution.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to join the forum here. And yeah, I, uh, my background is in a combination of education and military. I was in the Army for 3 years, about 30 years. And I was also involved in education and then. And eventually, I retired from the world of technology and moved completely to education. I've been a professor for about 25 years, and of course, I also had opportunities to manage teams in academia. Became at one point a department chair and a dean and different a college of engineering, college of business and academics. Um, as far as the topic at hand, it is. Of course, this is the world we live in. We first need to rethink our economic models. So that's the foundation. We're all back, coming back from the concept of economic scarcity, and we need to switch that. And we've heard about the models of abundance, and I don't know if we've done anything about it. Now, this condition we're in today for the last year or so, worldwide, is forcing us to rethink our economic model. And this is the opportunity to go ahead and engage in, of course, the concept of how technology is shaping our world, our environment, our behaviors, our interactions, and our commitments to our communities, and hence the world at large. So I am interested in how we are rethinking our economic models in parallel to the advancement of technology and bringing in the new workforce that Dr. Guyabadi just stated about. Yeah? Our bots that are coming in to entertain us and to feed us and to teach us and to run our world for us, except we need to create our own democracy that controls them instead of them controlling us. So I'll stop at this point.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. We have our honorable professors, and her name Gorgian, if I'm not wrong. Okay, thank you. So, ma'am, I know that you are very experienced in resilience and this kind of points, and even in the COVID-19 situation, even World Economy Forum, their research said that like fourth industrial revolution is actually most important part of our industrial developments. Even though in the COVID situation we are observing like country like China, country even in Asia Pacific, they are doing very good in the COVID-19 situation because of they have uh, uh, good resilience, as well as they have good contribution in fourth industrial revolution. But I want to know more from your point of view, like what your observations specifically about this Asia Pacific.
Sure. Hello, everyone, and thank you for having me today. Let me first define uh, and talk about what I think about the fourth industrial revolution. And definitely, I'm interested to talk about the resilient aspect of industrial revolution, which is really, really pivotal and important. The fourth industrial revolution, I think, is the culmination of collective learning and advancement on a grand scale. Definitely, there has been an intense upheaval that have been responsible for these changes, and we can just broadly categorize them into four areas, main areas that we're talking about the fourth industrial revolution today. But all in all, what we call industrial revolutions are the combinations of profound advancement in numerous industries such as transportation, infrastructure, agriculture, technology, regulations, policy, engineering, and etc. About fourth industrial revolution, this paradigm is kind of blurring the lines between the physical and digital spheres. And this is the really interesting aspect of this paradigm. Technologies such as additive manufacturing, collaborative robotics, AIs, virtual and augmented reality, they're set to disrupt, challenge, and fundamentally change the way that we as human beings work, think, and communicate. All of these advancements have coupled with some unprecedented rates of acceleration we are experiencing in today's world. And because of that, this is very important to just understand the characteristic of industrial revolution and the fourth industrial revolution. Um, because we know that this era of enlightenment ushered in progress and left it anchored in our economic, political, and individual existence. Definitely, we have to pay particular attention in one of the most important aspect of fourth industrial revolution, which is resilience. Without resilience, we cannot survive. We don't know where to go and how to cope with these environmental jolts, with this new paradigm. And I'm interested to talk about the resilience today and this aspect of fourth industrial revolution.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Eric, you have a strong engagement with Pacific Rim Business Council. Beside that, you like you also have experience from academia. So, academy, if we focus on academy as well as the national policy, what do you want to add? Because good academic environment as well as uh, developing good skills according to World Economic Forum is a very important right now in 21st century. So what do you want to add specifically for the academic policy as well as for the national policy level?
Well, the skill of academia has always been the ability to collect and organize information, but that's not enough anymore. My background actually starts with industry, with government, then industry, then academia, and they don't exist by themselves anymore. The big thing is the application of that. Government provides a lot of funding and drivers and policy that makes a lot of that technology work. Industry provides rapid problem solving, and academia sorts through to analyze all the problems and put it together in one package. So the biggest thing is we're seeing the integration of research, focused, directed research. In other words, not academia is just not to collect the information and pass it on. It's about organize it and put it right into application, which means it needs a much tighter connection with industry and government. So that's the biggest change in academia is let's solve problems. And the other thing to keep in mind is when you look at these research centers of excellence, some have a lot of money, like Stanford, they can afford an accelerator. That's important too. But these days, you don't necessarily need a lot of money to solve a lot of problems because a lot of it is just being able to get a hand on how to look at the information and put it together very quickly. So the speed of decision making is one of the biggest changes that the fourth industrial revolution has brought on. If you can't keep up with the speed, your competition will get a competitive edge on you, and the world will change faster than you expect it. And the last point, Farnas brought in this connection between the physical and the digital. Everybody knows the digital. Cyber physical systems. Right now, you can decide you want leather seats on your car instead of cloth seats, and they can inject it sometimes within seconds or minutes and without disrupting that physical line at all because it's all integrated. But the other part I'd like to bring in besides the physical and digital is the biological. I live in San Diego where we have research institutions all over that are doing amazing things, monitors the size of small Band-Aids that would normally have somebody stay in the hospital. You can send them home with these monitors. So I guess in summing up, much tighter connection between government, industry, and academia, number one. Number two, much more focused into rapid problem solving. And number three, that research that academia has to do has to be embedded both in the physical, the digital, and the biological.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mr. Eric.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Dr. Stan Fosters, I want to ask you a question directly because every day, World Talent Economy Forum, we are reaching around 10 different universities, school, and college. We're getting huge response from the youth community. Even those who joins today, they are also asking different kind of questions. But a few days ago, I saw one of your conference in Turkey, and I saw that California Miramar University, they have different perception, different like curriculums and everything. You are trying to adapt with this fourth industrial revolutions, and your curriculum and everything very much industry driven. And we want to give special thanks to Dr. Ali's leaderships, how he grew the different dynamic teams with a lot of intellectuals and industrial people. So what do you want to share? What's the things California Miramar University has, and how you want to share with our youth community?
Well, thank you. And again, thank you for having us and myself on your show. Again, one of the things we try to do at California Miramar University is to treat the fourth industrial revolution with the respect that it deserves. So we're calling it Education 4.0. And it's how do we do our programs? How do we design our programs so that they have impact and effect on this new industrial revolution? And a large part of that's empowering people. They're all of technology, and again, Dr. Guyabadi and Dr. Sauli are definitely, and Professor Westridge too, are all much more technical and into the internet side of things, and the connectivity of all of those factors that really are the backbone and that drive the industrial revolution 4.0. But the university, besides the research element of it, it is implementing and empowering those students. One of the classes I teach at the university is it's called a career practical training, and that's we have students at the undergraduate level and also the graduate level, and they actually get to go in and work into the community and then analyze what they're doing, how their education helping them to perform in their jobs. And many of our students, with San Diego being a hub for Amazon, and Amazon being one of the drivers of Industry 4.0, they're using the industrial Internet of Things and all of these tools that make up Industry 4.0. And our students that are working for them, and in many cases, our doctorate students are managers for Amazon. And just to react with them on a weekly basis and see the kinds of items they're dealing with is mind-blowing. But it's really where they are able to put into practice what they're learning in the classroom. And then they're also able to bring that back through these classes and share it with their peers. And not all of our students are working in an Internet of Things environment or Industry 4.0 environment. So it's very telling for them to be able to see what the other students are doing. And then we try to incorporate those things that we're learning into our other curriculum as well. So again, empowering the students to be able to know how to hack the technology. If their company isn't driving and utilizing Industry 4.0 right now, how that they can retrofit using Internet of Things, maybe retrofit some of their company's own needs to be able to perform at a level and start utilizing these tools. And then again, sharing those in and making that as part of our curriculum.
Mhm. Thank you. Mr. Mu, how do you want to add for this particular issue, especially Industry 4.0?
Well, Industry 4.0 was the industry have been using it for a while. As Dr. Ali Guabadi stated earlier, since 2016, a lot of large manufacturer firms, they're already on it. They already done it. They already went through the hurdle. It's done. It's not a whether we do it or not. It's not a luxury for small or medium business. It's just a matter of they are living in the 21st century. Where are you now? When are you now? Eventually, you want to get there. There is a goal. It's not a debate on whether we pull the trigger on Industry 4.0. It's just a fact. It's not if we go there. It's how we go there. And the academia is having a little bit trouble keeping up. People are arguing about what is it exactly. But this is not really a new thing. This kind of debate, because you look at Industry 1.0. Right? Back then, the study on our economics was a thing. The study on industry was a thing, and they were struggling defining that too. 2.0, same idea. 3.0, they don't know what the third industrial revolution is. They cannot. Today we can kind of define it, but the mechanization part. But in reality, it's a very because the topic is so huge, everybody is only seeing part of the picture. And if you ask a engineer, they will tell you the answer. What is Industry 4.0? They will tell you the answer is we can surveil all of our process, so we can accurately pinpoint where is our shortcoming, where is our weak point, right? And if you ask a I don't know manager, they will tell you it's the overall company performance. We can monitor that and we can tweak that, and we can sometimes even use AI to find our weak spots and fix them. Even coming up solutions, they will tell you that. And if you ask a specialist who does material science, they will tell you the 4D printing. Yes, that's the thing. 4D printing is a little bit different than 3D printing, but the idea is the same. You make a three-dimensional product, but in the meanwhile, you actually mess with the material you are printing. So as you print it, you actually create the material. So that kind of technology, they will tell you that's 4.0. But what is 4.0 at the end of the day? And we don't really have a definitive definition, and that is very okay. And how do I come in this? I'm known for two things. First of all, I'm the only Chinese in the group. So what is China doing? Doc mentioned something about many countries are taking initiative to tackle this idea. And China, they know they missed out on the first 2.5 industrial revolutions, and they actually blame that on why they fall so far behind the modern world. And that's probably the truth. The rest of the world is living in the next century, and you are still, when the rest of the world is living in the 19th century, you are still living in the 18th century. And so on and so forth, until the 21st century, they decide to catch up. And even today, they are still struggling. It's still a process trying to catch up. And the idea they use is called Made in China 2025. And the 2025 is not the end year. It's the beginning year of Industrial 4.0, according to the Chinese government document that they publish. I'm saying this, probably you guys are, this is the first time you guys have been hearing about this, because, the Western media has been focusing on, what, about China. Once you Google China, nothing about that actually comes out. And that's the important part, because you want to work with China or work against China, you better know China. Not from the hype media, almost like propaganda like type of deal. You actually study what they are actually saying to their own people, and then you know where their minds are at. And where their minds are at is AI, is 3D printing, is mass production, but smart mass production. What was it called? Internet of Things, but on the industrial level. And today we do, if I say, Alexa, turn off my light, it will turn off my light. That is part of the Internet of Things. But imagine that happening all across your plant floor. And imagine people are not saying, I don't want to, you trigger my smart assistant. Maybe they're not saying okay Google, right? People are not saying okay Google. And machines are saying that. And the reason they're saying that is to improve your productivity. Imagine a world like that. And so if China put this off, China is leading on AI, right? So and by the way, the bottleneck right now for the Internet of Things to increase our productivity is the AI. Collecting data, we are pretty much done. But how do we use the data to make the best decision? You use AI. And you use AI to process the data, which is commonly known as big data, which I'm not a good fan of the term big data. It's kind of self-contradictory. But yeah, that is where China is at now. They are thinking in the year 2025. And think about, where are you thinking? Can you compete with that? And the second, identity for me, I'm a marketer. I'm the CMO of PRBC, but I already, take a lot of time. But next round, when it comes back to me, I'll talk about the marketing aspect of Industry 4.0.
Mhm. Thank you. Dr. Ali Goabadi, you are part of think tank. And yes, what Mr. Moon said, this is the fact even in Asia Pacific, uh, China taking the leading position, even in Industry 4.0, even in the COVID situations, because of their industrial ecosystem, as well as they have a good preparations. Beside that, I want to add one point specifically from the Asia Pacific, what I am trying to learning from the market research. uh, there is a lackings of good academic person, good teachers. uh, Many government using billions of dollars for developing startup based on the fourth industrial revolutions. They are trying to developing different kind of ecosystem, but definitely this is one of the challenging situations for Asia Pacific, what I believe, that they need more academic person like Dr. Ali Goabadi, those who can run this kind of 4.0 ecosystem. What do you think? What your advice and what your detailed analysis on that particular point?
Uh, Thank you so much. I mean, you see, I come from a large university background. So
Mhm,
uh, I used to have over 100 professors working on only one department. And then
mhm,
I did feel what was wrong there. The problem was this was a state university. Professors were very happy, comfortable, and they didn't want to learn again. You see, it used to be that you went to school for 20 years, 12 years getting a high school diploma and another 8 years to get a doctorate degree, and you wanted to make a living out of that 20 years of investment. And that was how it worked, right? You were a doctor, you were a professor, and that's it. Now you were at this high place, high position, and they took a position in a university, good medical plan, good income, and people were very happy. The problem is they knew it all. So as a head of, let's say, a department, I had hell of a time trying to communicate to my peers, to my professors, that guys, we need to learn. As a matter of fact, nowadays the pace of change is so fast that as soon as you get your PhD, you write your paper, it's time to start learning. Now, this was like foreign language to professors. As a matter of fact, you'd be amazed how reluctant, resistant professors at universities are. They don't want to learn. They don't want to move. They want to teach the same old thing. They want to teach the same book. And by the way, the book was written 4 years ago. And by the way, for it to be written, because a publisher published it and it's a business, it was really a book about 10 years ago. And guess what? The pace of change is so fast that even what you see today as a paper is too late, too old. Now, that's issue about academic. That's why I opted to come to a small university, a for-profit university, to turn it into a private university, into a corporate university, into an
mhm,
agile university where people every day are learning, every day. And I mean people, professors. So professors are really at the forefront of learning uh, question. Now, let me just put some structure to this, so to understand why this is difficult. There are 8 well-defined layers of uh, problems in this Industry 4.0. At the lowest layer, sensors and actuators, right? Things that are happening down there, IoT, all of those things. They're talking about addressable, identifiable digital devices that I can talk to at the lower level. Electrical engineering, usually engineering, heavy engineering stuff. On top of that, now you got these systems and internal services, right? This is where value chain of organization, monitoring, SCADA, supervisory control and data acquisition, energy management, asset monitoring, control. By the way, my area of expertise is control. Now that's fairly difficult, system engineering, control engineering. And then that's layer two. On top of layer two, now you get to connectivity, networking things around, right? These are new capabilities, advanced services. This is where applications can take place. This is where you want to track, you want to maintain, you want to do things together, you want to become globally connected. And on top of these 3 layers, now you get these issues of Now I can do things differently, what Mu was talking about, right? Now I can go different places. Now I can have collaboration. I have what Dr. Sauli was referring to, different business models now, right? Economy of scale has changed, has shifted. As I said, no longer second best is going to be, but still fairly managerial. But on top of this is now we need this whole idea of industrial transformation. How do you plan? Where do you go with it? What kind of products? What kind of services? In here, what you're looking at is ecosystems, visions, innovations, leadership, strategy. On top of this comes culture. Culture now becomes a way of being. And that's what I was talking to you about when I said trying to work in a big university. In a big university, you're a professor who happens to be a head of a department. Well, you're just like everyone else, and no one wants to move. And on top of this idea of how do you create a learning organization, what kind of culture? But on top of that culture is a higher level, which is government initiatives, how governments are treating, what kind of initiative, what kind of money are you going to be here, let's say the West, which is driven by big corporations, or are you going to have the Chinese model where a government says in 60 years I'm going to do this, in 80 years I'm going to do this, by 2030 I'm going to do that, by 2040 I'm going to do that. Now this is policy making on trying to maintain a sense of job creation, order. Now, these are major policy making, and public policy becomes a major issue. And at the highest level, globalization. What's happening globally? Now, you look at these 8 layers. Majority of people active in the Industry 4.0 are really active in a technical aspect. And it's so difficult and it's so fast changing and it's so new that when it comes to digital aliens, it sounds like, oh, okay, I don't want to get involved. But guess what? The people who make decisions, the people who make 10 times the engineers, the people who are setting the trends, they are the one who need to be well versed in the issues related to this revolution. We're talking about a revolution. What we're trying to do at our university is to train the leaders of the future who understand the shifts in paradigm, who understand that new strategies are different than what Mintzberg used to teach, to understand that today ecosystem platforms are the way of future. We are trying to tell those who are the decision makers, who are the designers, who are level 4, 5, 6, and 7, higher than that, out to 8. We're trying to train those people to be Industry 4.0 literate. So from marketing to strategy, from management to supply chain, they understand the role and place of Industry 4.0 to be able to better understand their role and to better decide so that we will not fall behind. I will finish with this. Even though US used to be at the forefront of everything, that is no longer the case. Europe is far ahead of USA when it comes to Industry 4.0. And China has been moving so fast that has surpassed both USA and Europe. And today, what we're seeing is the problem of people who think they can solve it through political means rather than understanding that the pace of change is so fast that there is no other option for every one of us. I don't care how old you are, if you're an active agent, it's time to start learning anew.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, Professor. Honorable Chairman, Mr. Homestoner, one thing always we find that industry said academy do not produce enough skills students, and and there are a lot of gap in between industry and academia. You have a huge experience and you are taking initiative. Even I'm sharing with and World Talent Economy Forum, we are sharing with many countries that Pacific Rim Business Council and California Miramar University, they are setting an example how industry as well as academic can work together. And this is definitely very good example for many corporation as well as university in Asia Pacific as well, even in Africa, even in other countries. But my question is that how do you want to share your vision as well as how we can minimize the gap in between academia and industry?
Well, basically, what we're trying to do is to try to do better forecasting. Forecasting is what will uh, ordain what the future will be. Because as if you look back the last 3 to 4 decades and you identify the top 10 companies of the planet, the largest companies on the planet, you'll notice a very noticeable shift where we used to be uh, the largest corporations were manufacturing companies like Kellogg's and Johnson and Johnson, companies like that, which shifted over later into the automotive with the Toyotas and General Motors, and then it shifted again into these high tech companies, Google and Facebook and that sort of thing. And now we're forecasting this 4.0 uh, concept in telling these 400,000 odd companies, if you don't follow the shift, you'll be in the rearview mirror. There'll be no reason for you to be around because you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. So obviously, we've got to put the pedal to the metal here for education, occupational training, uh, conceptual uh, forecasting, and for actual job placement in these different emerging technologies, and shift further away from the old technologies that aren't coming back. Uh, these industries, over 30% of the present jobs did not exist 10 years ago. So if we do not keep up with these changes, the small companies will definitely bear the brunt. And we're seeing that already. So we're trying to make a difference there, working with the university to match the education with the opportunities, with the forecasts.
Mhm, mhm. Thank you. I have some specific question. I think to Professor Sowley, because he has a lot of experience for Industry 4.0. So can you share like about some major corporation, how they are working right now? What is their strategy for establishing this 4.0? Uh, what the real industrial scenario you want to share with us?
Um, so at the moment, there is a rise of forget the major corporations.
Mm.
Look at the young entrepreneur corporations.
Okay.
Those are the new and striving, and they have great ideas, and they are not tied to the old models, and they are not tied to the big capital that has other weight on it that is going to be controlling decisions somehow, one way or another. In addition, they are really intimately raised with the technology, and they know what it needs and what is expected, and they have a better prism to look through to see the beyond the 2030s and what have you. So they are really the essence of the IoT, the presence of IoT, the emergence of IoT, and where we're going today. These small companies, some of them have their own, uh, you know, um, basically they have their own systems, and they are going to be competing with what we already know. The major platforms, that the couple of platforms that we've had for the last, 3-4 decades, they're going to come up with, or they are coming out with certain platforms that are beyond what we control today and what we know today. So wait and see. Let's put it that way. But they are not focused on their own only. They are also looking for the environment and for the community and So they have a better concept of how the emergence of this new technology and the use of IoT with the new world that we're in, right, that is going to be benefiting to their communities. So they're more focused on what is best for all as what is best for me. So take, the whole notion of concept of me and flip it over, it becomes we. They think we in that pattern. So the idea is this: we are used to, for example, to education system that is traditional, and of course it's evolved and is doing great work, no doubt. This is no can't can't say that anything that is, let's put it this way, it is improving as needed, but the emergence of new education order, right? Part of the industry 4.0 is how the education system is emerging with it to produce. You see, before we used to have only the focus on, of course, learning to think and be intellectual, and of course, innovation and technology and the know-how comes along with it. Today is more twisted to into whatever is fitting the moment, right? The workshops, the um, the weekend course, the 5-week intensive workshop that's going to make you a programmer in the latest and the greatest. So the world of education is transforming into this industry 4.0 needs. We have an obligation to create that environment that's going to be feeding the community that is needed. Now, the community in our, from an education system, of course, it is the industry that needs that workforce as well. So the transformation into a workforce producing agencies or communities, the university and the college and the right and the education institution is transforming into producing that workforce. And that workforce should be fitting exactly what these entrepreneurs are begging for, or at least are working with. And that is the I think that I believe this is what's emerging at the moment. What we have is high tech companies that are innovative, and there are high tech or innovative institutions, education institutions that are emerging to support them. And that cooperation and that partnership is going to create the coming decade.
Mhm. Thank you. Thank you. Ms. Georgians, how do you want to add your resilience, corporate resilience uh, in these situations? And most important thing is that how actually Industry 4.0 help the corporate resilience?
Yeah, for being resilient, first of all, we have to just identify and foresee the challenges and all the risks that are come up with the Industry 4.0 or any other challenging situation for that matter. I think we can just categorize the challenges of Industry 4.0 into four main primary categories or level. First of all, is just at the national level, since decision makers are very concerned about employment and economic prosperity, and they are always trying to keep up the unemployment rate low. So when you look around the world, countries such as Germany, Germany has been at the forefront, but now we can just see Denmark, Sweden, and many other countries that are moving forward. Even in the Western world, we cannot see a uniform movement. Some countries are way behind, and some countries are at the forefront. We can just see even the USA. I mean, especially starting with Obama, the US has been taking a lot of initiatives um, during this new paradigm for this paradigm. But the best way to look at this movement and the challenges in this in this new paradigm is just to look at the Hannover Fair, that we can just see what's happening and what's going on in different industries. But in general, countries need to look at this from the investment and future point of view, because the prosperity of a nation really depends on how well Industry 4.0 has been understood and integrated into their national development. I mean, I'm going to define this four level challenges that are main challenges. And in the next round, I'm gonna just try to offer a resilient based solution for each one of them. The next level is the corporation level, because corporations are major entities within every nation, like major corporations in different industries, from manufacturing to food industry, from digital corporations such as Amazon, Google, Alibaba, to pharmaceutical. And we are just see different industries have adapted in different companies have adapted industry 4.0 to a certain level, but not at the same level. So we need to just have a thorough understanding, which gives us the ability to identify opportunities. For example, for agricultural, food, even construction, we can see that it is in the lowest level. But when we go to the ecosystem platform like the Amazon, we can see that it exists at the highest level. So how the major corporations are using the characteristic of Industry 4.0 and are employing it in different stages in different industries is the main challenge for main corporations. The third level challenge that we have is for small businesses. They are not major, they are followers, and they're usually integrated either within a particular supply chain, or they have a very limited scope and span of activities in which alone is also telling us that how would they deal with the fourth industrial revolution, because of the level of the investment, the level of the knowledge, the level of available resources for small businesses. It has become a major stumbling blocks and challenging on their way to cope with this new paradigm. I mean, I think we have talked about the small businesses and how they are trying to cope with different challenges these days, last sessions. The fourth and actually most important level is the individual level. You and I, we are trying to just adapt ourselves with these changes. And how do we train ourselves? How do we cope with these challenges? How do we educate ourselves? How do we know and what to do in this new paradigm? And as a matter of fact, in our university, as Dr. Gubadi mentioned, and as Dr. Gubadi actually is trying to do, is just bring all of us, all the students as DBA students, up to date. And most of the courses that I'm taking in this university is just like the course materials are 2020. And this is very important because if you go even to the top universities, you can rarely find, because of the bureaucracy, because of their structure, and it's very difficult for them to just change the material and bring it up to date for them. It's very difficult for them to just have all of them up to date. But we are just, whatever that we are studying is really, for the last 3 sessions we had everything about around COVID-19. So it is very important. Yeah, for example, when we're talking about the persuasive technology, yes, Stanford has a center for that, but you can rarely find a university touching the different aspects of Industry 4.0. So we need to just have the skill. We need to just gain the skills that on how to just be more agile, flexible, and more innovative in this new paradigm. Next round, I'm going to talk about the possible resilient-based solutions for each level.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Eric, you have a lot of experience in industry as well as in academia, even from government. But my question is that according to Center for Economic and Business Research Institute, UK, they're giving the forecasting and prediction about the future that China, because of the COVID, as well as for the good preparations of 4.0 industrial revolutions, they will take they will take the number one position in economy. Beside that, some of the countries they are playing very well, even though like country like Indonesia, India, Vietnam, Bangladesh. These are the developing nations. In between 15 years, they will be top 25 countries, and they will play a very good role. But my question is that what Dr. Ali said about the culture, about the corporate cultures, about the real understanding of fourth industrial revolutions, how this kind of developing nations they can collaborate with North America, with the think tanks, with the different university, as well as uh, good business council like Pacific Rim Business Council. What will be their strategy?
Well, as usual, when the world changes, we try and attack the new world with our old mindset. So, one of the
Mhm.
biggest challenges we have is getting our mindset to catch up to the change in the world. Because it used to be that your business was simply defined by what you did. If you manufactured shirts, everybody knows this is the way you manufacture shirts. It's just who can do it better. If you were a plumber, here's how you do plumbing. But as technology started to change, two things happened. How you did things could change very quickly and even differently. You had more choices on how you could do things. And the other thing that changed was communication with your customers and even your competitors changed. So now experience starts playing into the role. So there's a lot of businesses today that are still trapped in here's what I do. An example of that, Tower Records thought they sold records in a store, and their view of technology was, we'll just build the store online, and they totally missed the distribution of music. And all of a sudden, iTunes came along, and they had problems. So that shift from here's what we do to here's how we do it. Well, guess what? Now things are changing so fast, the how can change so dramatically that it's really about worrying about why. Why are we here? Why can we do things? In other words, if you figure out why you want to get where you want to go, all of a sudden there's so many different solutions, so many ways to get there that it seems to be overpowering. Now, your example of other companies, well, those big companies are invested in that how, especially on economy of scales. They're used to doing this big plan, and they're invested in a how business. Here's how we do this. But when you have a smaller, agile viewpoint and you're not trapped in this sunk investment that you don't want to give up because you feel like I've already gone this far, I can't give it all up. They're very flexible. So what happens is you start thinking about why we want to get there, and then you open up to all new possibilities. And that's one thing that the Education 4.0 student does. They don't get trapped up in the what or the how, although those are very important. They get trapped up on why do we want to go here? What is the strategy we want? And then they open up all kinds of solutions, which means you're now able to partner globally all over the world. So if you need to get your why in order, there's somebody who wants to help you get that why in order, do it with you. If you want to figure out how to get that why, there's companies that'll help you. There's startups that'll help you. There's partnerships. So that's one of the things in the Pacific Rim Business Council we're focused on is identifying, creating those partnerships very quickly. So that if somebody has this why, how do I get there? You can come up with some often unique and highly competitive solution. It may lower your cost. It may increase your speed of decision making. It may give you a more resilient supply chain. So the big shift that even a small business can do today, sometimes one person can come up with a why and engage a team of partners, big, small. But in fact, I've even seen this with government. I've seen one person put a $1 billion lab to work for them because they came up with an idea that was mutually beneficial between a government lab and them. And in some cases, it didn't even cost them any money because they said, if we work on this together, you can use it for the government stuff and I'll be able to sell it to the commercial world. So I've seen people leverage, for example, recently I saw somebody leverage acoustic sensing in the ocean to a medical, that barring that technology, doing a medical application of it. And all of a sudden they're doing the how just changed because nobody had ever done it this way, and it changed that quickly. It was just let's apply something that was used in one place to something else. So that's the big difference when you come into, okay, now there's all kinds of things you could do because you want to get competitiveness and future viability. You want to get organization and product market fit. You want to get your employees and qualifications and training. There's a lot of things that go into that, but the number one answer to your question is, how does a small business or a company suddenly rise to the top? You get your why right. You realize what business, you get what your business really, the business you're really in, not what you do. It's the outcome, the change that you are going to make as an organization. And there's many different ways, people who can help you and partner with you to get that outcome. So hopefully that helps.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Dr. Stan Foster, how do you want to add your point?
Well, again, it goes right in line with what Eric was saying and what Dr. Sayoli said earlier. I think that if you look at the solutions and the problems that are being presented, they're moving so fast. And it was like Dr. Greebody said, even the most recent textbooks are out of date. It's moving so fast. And so I could say the same thing, is that when you're educating people that are dealing with this, or you're being corporate university to a business, you have to deal with what's happening immediately, and that sometimes lends itself more to very short-term targeted certificate programs rather than a degree program. It's like, who's going to wait 2 years or 3 years or 4 years in this environment for that type of a solution? That's not meaning you can't make your overall curriculum better in your degree programs like we're doing at the DBA, but we're making them practical. And it gets practical when these minds, our DBA students, are utilizing their minds as a resource, can tackle a problem for a corporation that's very specific and also very involved and very technical. And so you know, each one is a different, and the one you can say, this one's going to solve it for everyone. Everyone has a unique set of circumstances that they need to address. And that covers over what Eric was saying. So again, if we can come in and look at and do an assessment of what the business is looking at, and then conduct a strategy that's very specific, very targeted, and very direct, and not necessarily not timely. I mean, time consuming. It's timely, but it's not time consuming. I think that's what you're going to see many of the educational institutions moving towards in the future, and that's what we're calling Education 4.0.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mo.
As promised, you know, I'm gonna tackle the marketing aspect of Industry 4.0. There's actually a term coined specifically for it called Marketing 4.0 by I think his name is pronounced Philip Kotler, and he's a legend in the marketing field. And his consulting firm is actually the #1 in the world. McKinsey is #2, by the way. So what is Industry 4.0? Well, Industry 4.0 for marketers and Marketing 4.0 according to Kotler. He didn't, as you know, the general theme here, Industry 4.0 is not well defined on purpose, and he didn't define Marketing 4.0 clearly, and that's a strategic weakness. It's not on purpose because you want to leave room when something like this, when trying to describe something this big, you want to leave room for interpretation. And the way he tackles this is he come up with quite a few changes in Marketing 4.0, and companies needs to be aware of to know how to tackle. And all of the changes are surrounding customers. And shifting to a customer focus or customer centric mindset has been a trend for many years for marketing for many years. Even before the Industry 4.0 came out, you know, we used to have 4P marketing or 5P. People like to add people to the P, but that's just a, you know, when people say shifting from the 4P to 5Ps, that's when people first thinking we need to add people to this mix, and then people decide to change. The marketers decide to change it to, instead of 5P, back to 4Cs, and the C now has consumer in it, replacing product. Right? That combines the people and the product aspect. Right? And with that, it's becoming, and this all happened basically last century. Now we're talking about 50, 60 years ago. And before, back then, there wasn't Industry 4.0. We were at the peak of Industry 3.0 back then. And after, now we know that even before Industry 4.0, marketers are shifting towards a people-centric mindset. With the Industry 4.0, however, it just totally flipped the game. Totally, it's a trigger. It's not a cause. Right? What's the difference between a trigger and cause? And when you pull the trigger, nothing big happens. A little small needle hits something, and then catastrophe, or everything happens. Right? That's exactly what Industry 4.0 did to marketing. Right? With the digitization of our everyday life, people know instantly what their neighbors are buying, what their relatives are buying, and their opinion are strongly influenced by those activities, by those information, and they are overwhelmed with information. So how does marketing 4.0 cope with this? Well, it shifts their entire focus. They got rid of all the other 3Cs, got rid of arguably all 4Ps, all the classical 4Ps. They leave that to half of it to the management, to the supply chain, to the engineering, and to the industrial design, and half of them to marketing research. And the half that's left in the marketing research is the marketing 4.0. And people are actually studying people's relationship. Marketers are studying people's relationship. They try to figure out ways to persuade people over online means, and this just leads to, you know, viral marketing. This leads to word of mouth management. It's an old concept, but with the online, you bet that's the new and focus, the center of all your marketing efforts. You want to manage your reputation. You want to manage your relationship with your consumers, because you don't know where they come from. Right? You are an American company, all of a sudden somebody in China bought a product that's faulty, and they decide to post a photo on it. And you know, I use this example ironically, because most likely the case is you are a Chinese company, and you saw somebody in the US post a bad review of you, and all of a sudden you're out of business. Right? That is what marketers need to care about, needs to focus on, and is enabled to in the big shift towards the Industry 4.0, because you can actually track our consumers, and so you can actually do something about it. And that's just one aspect of what happens to marketing under Industry 4.0. It's more on the digitization side. And next time when it comes to me, I will talk about the other side. What if you are a kind of business that just doesn't work, you know, on the digitization side? You know, for example, what if you are a amusement park, right? People visit you for a reason, right? So that kind of stuff. And also there are, you know, local stores. You know, people are buying stuff on Amazon, but there still is, you need to give your consumers a reason to visit your store other than just buying stuff. And that ties into experienced economy. And next round, when it comes to me, I will get into that.
Thank you. Okay. I want to take some open question from our audience. I think this is very, very important, and this is open for all of our speakers. Those who want to give the question answer, they can give. Ale Ahmed, her question is that, hello everyone, how do individuals and entrepreneurs preparing themselves for the industry. Noor Fazrin, greetings from Malaysia. What is the function of a small business? Thank you. There are a few other questions. I want to say this is good questions. Mahadia Hassan, her question is that what is the significant role of the corporations? Araf Mehraz, how will the 4IR affect business in South Asia? I think he's from South Asia. And Muhammad Shihab, how will 4IR empower people to upskill themselves? So I want to start from Dr. Ali. Yes.
I mean, I'm going to get to those, but let me again, because as we're trying to, this is like onion. We're peeling layers after layers to understand what we're talking about. I think these questions will be also answered. You see, as human beings, we want to know why, how. This is how we are. If I go to this particular place, if I do these particular things, if that happens, then this happens. So we're in a way rational being. We are in need of this relationship, explicit as well as visible cause and effect relationship. That's how we work. If I give you this, you give me that. If I do this, I'll get that. Now the problem is that this applies to all layers. And as it was mentioned by almost everyone, and I'm going to write what Mu was saying, things have changed. Traditional meaning makings are no longer valid. Even at the GDP level, where nations consider their gross domestic product and they're trying to figure out how much it is, there is a tool. There is this visible and explicit cause and effect relationship of tangible goods. First, the intangible nature of innovation is major. Today, Aramco, the largest corporation in the world, has all that oil in a country where a country is a company, is number one, but number two, number three, number four, number five are all intangible corporations. Apple, Amazon. So issue one. Companies that were in non-existent only a decade ago are so huge that companies like GM and Ford would never even stand to one of their small departments, and they don't even produce anything. And there is this indigenous nature of innovation. That is why it's so difficult and almost impossible to deny that the value that has been created by innovation is vague by nature. Another major issue, because people are saying, oh, how about if I find a job in this sphere? Zero wage and zero price activities are major forces of making things happen worldwide. But there is no way for one to measure these things in a GDP. So GDP metrics are failing to take account of this sort of economy. And this economy is the end result of this revolution. And as I said, digital business innovation, what does it mean? That means things are happening. They're valuable. Why? It's in front of our eyes. 20 years ago, there was no company. Today is the largest company. What happened? When did that happen? 20 years for a company to come in and go over companies that have been around for hundreds of years or 100 years? Now, what also is happening is all of our analytical tools and metrics, not just they don't work, they're very dangerous. They're very dangerous to use them. They're the wrong measurements. And that's why executives and decision makers and policy makers all over the world are really making certain decisions that are hurting themselves. They think if they make a movement out of this or that, they don't realize that the rug has been pulled. There is no rug under their feet. Wrong measurement is leading to wrong decisions and wrong outputs. What's happening here for you and I don't care who you are. If you're a young entrepreneur, if someone looking for a job, if someone out of a job trying to re-educate yourself, if you're an educator, if you're a professor, if you're an executive, Make sure you understand this new phenomena. You cannot rely on anything that was given to you as a basis of thinking. There is no longer that nicety of being able to count on what you were taught at school by Mintzberg in 1960. It doesn't apply anymore. Yes, we do teach them for sake of historicity, but that's all. Things have changed so much. Follow the free. I mean, can you imagine? Follow the free. That is the name of the game. Free. Everything for free. What do you want to be educated on? You can get it for free. You don't need to go to university. Follow the free. Follow the free has become the name of the game. The economy of scale of this so-called digital economy is so tremendous that it does not allow you to start doing anything. Today, you don't need people to program. Programs are programming. There are so many frameworks. There are so many well-designed, customizable way of doing things. Bootstrap, Laravel, anything you want is available for free. The question is then where is the money? What happened to that cause and effect? Where do I see the money then? If I teach you for free here, you got yourself a free conference. All you have to do is avail yourself the time to sit down and listen to what we're saying. Follow the free. Understanding this concept of follow the free is at the core of Industry 4.0. Industry 4.0 has made it possible that people will provide you free services, free intangible goods that are creating such massive changes in the world that is like mind-boggling. Please understand that whatever you understand might be dangerous for you, no longer valid. What we understood and we thought to be the realities, what we thought that they were the basis of decision making are no longer valid. That's why so many decision makers are making mistakes at the national level, at the corporate level, at the small business level, and on a personal level. You think you're going to go learn programming and have a life? No way. There is no need for you to learn programming. Programming is no longer valid. If you think you're going to make a life out of programming, whatever you can do in a year will be done by a machine for free within a second. No, the world has changed. The world has gone from doing something to knowing something. And that something are in forms of frameworks. I was just yesterday talking to a young man who's a musician and likes to get a degree. And I told him, the world you want to play your music is no longer in existence. It is time for you to be a citizen of this world. And this young man, beautiful young man, I love him, he attends my book club. I told him, listen, it is no longer an option for you to just play music because you got a beautiful message for people. If you want to have your message to get across, if you want your business, I don't care how non-digital it is, you need to understand you're a citizen of this digital world, of this virtual world. And it's not working the way you think it works. No longer. All those cause and effect relationship, as Mu was trying to say, no longer valid. New rules. That's why countries that 20 years ago were considered poor, today are rich. And countries that were dominating the world, very soon they will be irrelevant. Today, we are afraid of countries who were in dark ages 10 years ago. Companies who are right now the most fierce competitors for the major players, non-existent only 10 years ago. The reality has changed. Your reality has become virtual reality. Industry 4.0 is a revolution. It's not about devices. It's not about cloud computing or computer. You don't need to learn any of these things. And if you do, by the way, as Dr. Sauli said, you can do it in 4 days. I learned a language in 4 days, not because I'm smart. It's made this way. Education is no longer about you learning a particular skill, but learning how to think again anew in a new paradigm.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Homestoner. Yes, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Yes. Yes. There are some open questions from audience. You can take any of the questions and you can give answer. Can you hear me?
Barely. Go
Okay.
ahead, ask me the question.
Okay. The question from Araf Meraz: how will 4 industrial revolution affect business in South Asia?
Well, that's an easy question. uh, Southeast Asia is the youngest part of the world. Africa number one, Southeast Asia number two. The average age in Southeast Asia at the present time is 30 years of age. Where you get into the industrialized nations, the average ages start at 47 and go up. So you're talking about young, vibrant minds that have stars in their eyes and they want to see this bright future ahead of them, and they want to learn as quickly and as best they can with the resources that are available to them. So by the fact that Southeast Asia is young and let's just say very eager to become part of this new 4.0 world, you'll see that that part of the world will be high growth, very robust, and figuring out the new ways of doing business much quicker than the industrialized nations, because the industrialized nations have this notion that they know everything. When in fact, as Dr. Ali was just saying, every day things are changing. Every day it's a different world just in a few years. So the young people will figure this out. The older people will fade away. So I have nothing but uh, dreams of grandeur for Southeast Asia because of the fact that there's a great future of these young, intelligent people that have nothing but desire for a better world for their generation. So I think that the future for Southeast Asia is fantastic, much better than most of the rest of the world.
Thank you. Thank you. Professor Sauli. Yeah. Can you unmute yourself?
Well, I couldn't agree more. What else to add? This was like words of wisdom. They are on the rise, and they will continue to rise. Uh, and again, just just to add, one of the questions was about what would the young entrepreneur or what the new business function be. Well, the new business function is the same old business function. It's just through different lenses. So you still have a business model. You still have to come up with something that you're going to be offering the world, right, for an exchange of for money. So that is still the same. The thing is, what is an exchange? And of course, now, for example, to Mu's point, we're talking about, the world of marketing today is completely different than it was 30 years ago. 30 years ago, what's marketing? Today is you can't live without marketing. And it's all immersed and it's all sinking into big data, right? The same stuff that Dr. Guyabadi was talking about, that is, you can't trust it very well. So where do we go? The marketeers are counting eyeballs, right? And the data is counting all that. And then we find out that that data is not necessarily, accurate or good enough. And then executives are making decisions. Some of it is the wrong decision based on it. So where do we go? Guess what? You're the new entrepreneur. You have new opportunities to fix this problem that we all looking through. You see, big data is good, but it has to be real data and it's of value and it has to be concise enough for me to be able to look at it. And it's not that big, so I can focus and see and make the right decision as an executive for whatever exactly I need. So there are plenty of opportunities for your business models, right? That you can come up with all the new innovations, with all the Industry 4.0 or Education 4.0, the new things that are needed for the industry right now that you could learn or at least teach us, the those of us that are needing to make those decisions. You come up with these ideas and put it in a business model and run with it. Southeast Asia or Africa or anywhere in the world,
Thank
you're
you,
going to be successful.
Miss Georgian.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I think I'm gonna address the corporations, small businesses, and individual entrepreneurs. Um, um, Three questions that they have asked. But before that, let me just, as we discussed for the last session, it is important for in the national level to just make sure that the particular directive for funding integrate the Industry 4.0 characteristic and aspects in our educational system, because it's a fundamental platform from high school all the way to educational and research institution. If you recall, we talk about the importance of resilient culture, and the national level is the best level where you can create the resilient culture. This is the level that you can create the culture and integrate all the Industry 4.0 characteristic into your educational institution. As a matter of fact, one of the greatest challenge today faced by the higher education institutes in the USA is the reluctance to adhere to new changes and challenges, as Dr. Guabadi mentioned. You rarely find the university interacting with the whole concept of Industry 4.0, and they need to just teach and develop a culture to be agile, adaptable, in high level, and it's very crucial. In the corporation level, which was the one of the question, definitely it is important because the way that you look at Industry 4.0 and your corporation is very important, because obsolescence management is the most important concept that we have to think about it when it comes to the new paradigm and the corporations. How do we keep our corporations up to date? How we just continue competing in the new dynamic market? How do we advance our perspective in this new market? Because you know that the resilience is the answer to this question. And especially these days with this COVID-19 as one of the most environmental jolts that we are facing, especially in our lifetime. So companies have issues, major corporations have issues in investing and choosing the right technologies, in moving forward, the right partnership, the way that they need to adapt, the human resource development, the way that they need to just the strategic human resource development that they need to just take the initiatives towards it. At the same time, they have issues because of the lack of educated individuals required in this new paradigm, because as soon as they're hired, they hit the ground running. So the university graduates, especially the from the public sector, they don't have the required know-how to be able to adapt accordingly to the requirement of so-called Industry 4.0. So companies have two fundamental issues about training and retraining of their human resources, and as well as having the fresh graduates that are adept to this Industry 4.0 paradigm, mainly because of the gap that I explained in the national level, because there is a gap in there in creating proper and appropriate culture. Also, we shouldn't be just blind faith in technology as the solution to all eco-social problems that we are facing. The digitalization of the economy cannot be used as an excuse to just not to continue the shift toward a care-oriented environment. This is very important. A resilient environment is a care-oriented environment. So it's just more than just understanding new technology. it is a paradigm, and we have to have a thorough understanding of this paradigm to be able to actively be part of it. And for small businesses, that was another question. It is, I mean, this is where this discussion becomes very fruitful, because it's very challenging for small businesses. And meeting that we had, last session that we had, we talked about how, based on the GNG framework that under Dr. Guevari's leadership I developed, it's very important that they need to just pay particular attention to the external factors, and at the same time to the four main domains: cultural, structure, operations, and internal factors of the, and definitely technology. It is very important for them because they have limited resources and limited capacity, and they need to utilize them to be able to prosper in the best possible way. And the last question that I can address is for the individuals, is just definitely in the resilient, we define as an ability to recuperate from challenging situation. And new paradigm definitely have many unknown challenges for us, for every one of us. So we need to just have some skills, like, for example, the skill of stress management, critical thinking, problem solving, be adaptable, flexible, agile, be independent professional, and entrepreneurial by nature. We need to just have the forward thinking, and we shouldn't afraid to try new and innovative ways, because like by 2025, over 75% of workforce will consist of millennials and Generation Z. So we have to just really educate them, just equip them with new skill to be able to support flexibility, innovation, constant growth, and team collaboration.
Thank you, Mr. Eric.
Yeah, as usual, I agree with everything that Farnaz Gorgian says, but I'd like to provide a different take on that, a more simplified view. To answer the question is, what is the role of a corporation, a small business, and an entrepreneur? And that role is to figure out what difference you want to make in some group or person's life, and do it. So whether you're an entrepreneur, you're making a difference in the world. It's a change. You're making something easier, faster, better, more enjoyable. Same thing for a corporation or small business. The difference is simply that of scale. And the good news is that difference doesn't have to be huge. We're talking about these big, grandiose changes, and that's true. But I know people, for example, take a realtor and a mortgage broker and an inspector who figured out how to automate that process so they all talk to each other and it's faster. And they're using a simple tool that we all have available. Anybody of us can go use that tool to have that communication that's instantaneous. They didn't have to do anything that big to do it. The other question, though, is when you're figuring out how to help people, do you have a vision in search of a mission, or do you have a mission in search of a vision? In other words, do you have a problem looking for a solution, or do you have a solution looking for a problem? Like someone says, oh, I figured out this cool way to do this. I wonder who we can sell that to. I wonder who my customer is. Other people start with this idea that I really want to help these people buy a home better, have a lower cost in putting in business systems, make it easier to talk to their friends or family. And so that's the real key is, do you have a solution? In other words, you have a mission and you're looking for a vision, how to put that in there? Or do you have a vision, I want to help, and how do we do that? And then you're looking for these changes in how you can help people. An entrepreneur says, I'm going to take a problem that we don't really know the answer to, and I'm going to throw a bunch of risk and try stuff to see it work. An entrepreneur basically says, why think about it too hard? Let's take action and do it. A small business has a little more structure and says, how can I improve my operation or my products or the experience? How can I do that to make a difference? And a big corporation says, how do I do more research, understand the market, and throw big resources? So the role of a corporation is to be able to apply big resources where they're needed. corporations love to have a market that they can understand and plan for. That's what they're great at, understanding, planning, and executing. The problem corporations have today is the market changed. By the time that they start even understanding there is a market, somebody else is already living there doing it. So corporations have had to find new ways, a lot of it in terms of changing their structure, to be able to participate into this market, because more and more, by the time the market is there, that's why you've seen these growth of these companies like Amazon. You know, the big retailers didn't foresee that market. Even though they had lots of money, they could have built Amazon before Amazon built it. They didn't see that because they don't like investing in markets that haven't proven themselves already. And with a platform, they grow so fast that they've already developed the market by the time a big corporation even sees that, oh yeah, there's a market there. And so a lot of corporations have developed this idea of having sensors out. I know Panasonic, we work with Panasonic for a while. They had people out there embedded in these places, constantly looking for those markets, give them a tripwire and tell them. That's why actually we did a licensing agreement with Panasonic, because they saw that what we were doing was driving the market before the market was even there. And so there are ways to counteract that, but that's the big difference between an entrepreneur, the small business. No matter what you're doing, the role is to figure out whose life you want to change. Do you start with a how? We know how we want to do it, but we don't know who, or do you start with the who? And do you put together teams to know how? Small businesses take markets that can change agile. Entrepreneurs take markets that are going to try some change, test change, test change, test change. And big companies are looking for things they can invest large resources in to make that difference. So I hope that helps with the question of what's the role of a corporation, a small business, and an entrepreneur.
Thank you. Thank you. Dr. Stan Foster.
Yeah, I agree. What Eric was just describing, what a lot of these big businesses did in transition, it was that they were afraid of channel conflict. And so all of a sudden they have a retail strategy. They may be, most of them, if they were online, they were very, lightly online. And they were afraid that by going into this new area, that maybe I'm going to cannibalize my existing business. I would grow that other business, but I might also cannibalize my other existing business to a point that would really be detrimental. What many companies didn't understand is that's true, okay? But if you don't do it, you're going to be left behind. It's kind of a situation what we're facing with Industry 4.0. There's the future is a little bit uncertain, and it could be scary, and you may be destroying your business. But yet, on the other hand, if you don't take that step, you may be destroying your business. And I do think this is probably less obvious to the small and really small businesses, super small businesses. They don't have the financial resources to do some of the other cutting edge things that the Industry 4.0 brings. One of those is being simulation. So they have something called a digital twin. And they take their businesses and they make a digital version of it, and they can do simulations and see, if I did this, what would work? Oh, that could work better, and it does it in very rapid speed, and gives them a whole different way of looking at things that in the past would have been maybe a barrier for implementation for it. So again, but the smaller businesses don't typically have that. But what they have is probably a better, very cohesive culture. Generally, small businesses have that, and they can get feedback from their employees. And perhaps what Ms. Uddin was saying is that that's for small businesses can be a stopgap measure on how to deal with Industry 4.0 and in your own company. If you can't figure out an exact way of doing things, maybe you can have input from your other employees and that are vested in the business, and get a lot of minds working on the project and how to implement that in a way that doesn't destroy the company in the short term, but also then it lays the groundwork for some sort of path to making the company work and maybe more productive in the longer range. So that's what I see. I mean, the small and micro businesses that we tend to be have more of in the Pacific Rim Business Council don't many have access to these higher resources and higher cost things. Now, those things are coming on, and they're going to be coming. But again, if we can utilize a little bit of strategy in the short and medium term, I think that these businesses will be able to find a strategy that serves them in the interim stage, and hopefully give them the financial wherewithal to continue on and
Thank you,
develop further.
Mr. Mu.
So before I dive into the experience economy aspect of marketing, like I promised, I do like to tackle the existence. Why what's the purpose of a corporation? So there are two sides to the questions. To this question, why is the small business? Why is the corporation in general? The corporation in general, if you want a very simplistic but twisted answer, is by Dr. Milton Friedman. He said the sole purpose, the primary purpose of a corporation is to make money. That's it. That's simple. But but that was stated over 50 years ago in the 1970s, and I think he got a Nobel Prize for it. But today we know that that is actually the original sin of today's corporate greed. That is the original sin of what is going on, what is going wrong in this world right now. But corporation started before he had that statement. And today we have learned that that statement is just not right, it's wrong. And on top of that, people keep twisting it to justify their unethical behaviors. Right? They put economic responsibility on top of ethic responsibility, or even legal responsibilities. And that's just twisted. That's upside down. And it's all wrong. Right? But we have been standing on that, shaky foundation for this long time. But it's time for a change, and this is a little bit beyond Industry 4.0, because Industry 4.0 is more on the technical side, not really on the philosophical side of what a business is. But what a business is. Why do we even start a business? Well, another even simpler answer is because we cannot achieve the thing we want to do otherwise. Why do we cooperate? Why do we incorporate? And that's the word come from cooperate, right? So that the reason we do that is we want to combine our strengths, we want to combine our resources and to achieve that goal. And that is original goal for incorporation. That is why, as a society, we gave them a lot of benefits. They basically are investing without risks. They only risk the part money they put into the business, right? That's the limited liability side of the business. As a society, we grant them that right, but in return, what did they give us? What did they give back? Well, they take away all of our money because that's their ultimate goal. And like I said, that's the wrong goal. And the goal is to focus back on what our goal is. And some big operation has realized that. And a lot of very successful companies today are successful because they are able to get their eyes off the so-called ultimate goal. They get their eyes out of the money. And why is Google successful? Yes, they're very good at promoting ads, but why can't anybody else get even closer to their level? Because they also have many hobbies. They want to make the world, a place that fits their vision. And by doing that, in the process of doing that, they create a massive differentiation with all their competitors. So you don't really use their competitors' product. And who says Google's search result is the best? And again, Google's only profit-making part of their segment is Google. Alphabet's only profit-making part of the aspect is their search business. Right? They generate all their ad revenue from the search, and they're funding all of their other endeavors with that one thing, and they figured it out. Same idea with Microsoft. Right? Bill Gates set up the goal to put a Windows computer on every American desk, and then turns out to every desk in the world. And even this successfully fulfilled that. And today, arguably, Microsoft has no reason to exist anymore, and the only thing left is making money for them. And that is why we see so many depressing news. If you live and breathe tech, you will know Microsoft is a pretty depressing company. And if you argue otherwise, I would say you look too much into the money. They are really good at making money nowadays, but not really good at doing what they set out to do because they already done that. There's no purpose for them right now. So that's about the existential crisis about big corporations and smaller corporation. What's the reason for? Well, smaller corporation, there are two ways for them to go. Right? Why one is they stay small, or they fail. Most of them don't really stay small for a very long time, or they just grow bigger, or even they can stay small in one location, but they set up many other locations. They franchise, or they start a chain. You can be a chain without being a franchise. Like Starbucks or Chipotle, they are both chains, but they're not franchise. All the company are owned by the same corporation. All the other stores are owned by the same corporation. Uh, and what's the purpose of a small business that's gonna fail eventually? Because we know most small businesses fall within a decade. But why do we still do that? Well, that's basically in. Somebody asked. I'm not sure this is just a legend or myth or this actually happened. So Thomas Edison, when he was working on the light bulb, the legend says he failed 1,000 times, and people say, "Why do you keep trying after 1,000 times?" And he said, I didn't fail 1,000 times. I just find out 1,000 ways to not make a light bulb. Right? That's arguably why do we keep trying as small business even though we know they are very likely to fail? We just want to figure out what's not going to success, and eventually, even that one successful business will just put our name in the history. And that's a very venture capitalist way of thinking. But I guess that's the justification for me personally why stay in small business, why keep tackling small businesses. But yeah, that's all the rant or discussion I have on the
Okay.
existential crisis of small business.
Thank
And,
you.
I guess I'm out of time. So I guess next time I will talk about the expensive economy if the topic allows.
Okay, thank you for today's discussions. Actually, World Talent Economy Forum, Asia Research and Development Institute, and Al Noor Academy, we are working together. And our target in between 2021, we want to reach with our content, and we are working as an open source mode. We want to reach around 100 million youth community in Asia Pacific and Africa, Middle East, and other countries. And hopefully, all of your valuable contributions will be very much helpful for the youth community, because in Asia Pacific, 57% youth, Africa, 60% youth. So beside that, our target is that we want to reach the right community with the academia as well as industry and governments. So fourth industrial revolution is very, very important right now. It's a 24 $5 trillion economy, and it is growing very fast. So for that particular issues, I directly want to go for the concluding remarks for today. First, I request Mr. Eric, then Dr. Stan, then Ms. Georgians, then Mu, then Professor Soli, and finally I request Dr. Ali. So I directly want to start from Mr. Eric for the concluding remarks for today's session.
Yeah. If you have a flexible mindset, this is really good news because it means you have much more resilient possibilities. If you can focus on why you're in business and then look for ways to consistently deliver that better, faster, more fun, more experience, you can do well even if you're small, because the difference doesn't have to be that big. It can be providing a template to make filling out one document easy. We don't have to be these huge changes that take these big investments to build a data center like Google has. For corporations, yeah, you need to look at that, but it's really about the difference. If you look what California Miramar University has done, the majority of that work has been figuring out how to make a difference in businesses that want to employ students and in students' life. Yeah, they use the latest technology. They had to go change their learning management system. Wouldn't have been possible without a change in technology. But the key is it wasn't the technology that drove the change. And that's true with any business these days, whether it's in the future starting to set up new travel. You know, there's no shortage of problems. The um, challenges came from changes mostly in information and communication. Communications changes, and communications makes it change even faster and faster. Um, Cyber physical systems, and that can be, I helped start an Internet of Things business. You could very cheaply change sensing and printing and everything with relatively inexpensive sensors. That's one of the major focuses of the Pacific Rim Business Council is the new partner networks, people who have resources and know things and have reach and we can get people into pretty much anywhere. So if you have but you can't go in there and say, yeah, we're good, we'd love to talk to you. You have to go in there and say, we really want to help this group of people. Can you help? And finally, the workforce. So those are changes that are happening all the time that you can either take advantage of or be a partner. So I guess I'd like to end by saying this can be a very positive thing, but you have to have a mindset to be able to tackle that. And that's the most difficult thing, is changing the way you see your business, what you do, and the world we live in.
Thank you. Dr. Stan Foster.
Thank you. Yeah, I just to emphasize what Eric said. I think that one of the reasons that California Miramar University entered into the relationship with the Pacific Rim Business Council was for this exact reason. Again, the Pacific Rim's model, there's an ability to interface with all these small and medium-sized businesses, and they don't know exactly what they may need. And if they do, and they only need a little bit of advice in one area, that's fine. That's available. If they need a little bit more in depth, involvement, then that's also a possibility. And so that's the university. Really, that's where we're trying to give our students the ability not only to learn about these concepts, but to apply them. And again, not apply them necessarily in a big degree, time-consuming way, but a very targeted, very specific, narrow-focused way. And so that opportunity is there, and I would recommend to any of the people watching the show, if they have that business or they want to learn more, is to approach. If it's their business, I would approach the RIM Business Council, and if it's more about learning about maybe some targeted certificate type training, then to contact the university. We'd be happy to talk to them and
Thank you, Mr. Mu, for concluding remarks.
Well, as Eric put it, and I mentioned that earlier, what's important for small businesses is figure out what you want to do. What is, other than making money, of course, because we established that it's twist. Making money, going into business for the sole reason of making money, it's a twisted way of thinking about business. I think of your business of a person, what is its purpose in the world, and then figure out how to use 4.0 in your advantage instead of your competitor's advantage. Because if you don't use it, be sure that your competitors are using it. So that is my remark for today.
Thank you, Ms. Georgian.
Yeah, the truth is that it no longer matters whether or not this revolution, industrial revolution, is desirable. It is happening. It is already part of our lives. What is relevant right now is just making sure that these advancements and these developments are occurring in a way that is both inclusive and compatible with us. So we eventually can leave behind the idea of progress coupled with evolution successfully and bring the focus of our attention to our ability to integrate all these advancements appropriately into our lives in a resilient manner. So this is very important. The problem is not just believing in the revolution, the new industrial revolution, and thinking about it. It's just make it resilient. It is the only way that we can make sure that we are ready for the future
Thank you.
that is
Thank you.
happening now. Thank
Professor
you.
Soli.
Thank you for the opportunity to join today. And my closing remarks is this. Folks, if you're watching, if you're listening, this is your moment. It's all about timing, 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 timing. And I want to just add one more item here just to think about your not only your business and your competition and how you're going to make a dollar or a or a yuan or whatever currency you're going to be making, right? The idea is this: you want to be caring about your next door neighbor, your community. Therefore, corporate social responsibility should come down from the large corporations down to every individual
Thank you. Thank you,
business.
Dr. Ali,
Thank you.
for the concluding remarks, and I want a detailed summary for today's sessions.
So thank you so much, everyone. Hopefully you've enjoyed this. I was looking at MOOC, MOOC, that's massive online courses. There are 2,900 courses available right now, supposedly for free. And when you look in there are only two courses available in Industry 4.0. And when you really look more carefully, the one is $268 and the other one is non-existent. Why so many free, just do it yourself sort of courses? Go to lynda.com, go to edX, go to many different Harvard. Why? First, most likely majority of what being offered is not of any use to you, period. You won't be able to gain anything from it. Things have gotten so difficult that we're no longer in need of learning, because if you're in need of learning, sit down and learn. Simple. Sit down and learn. If you have access to the internet, everything's out there. We're not in need of learning, I think. We're in need of training. We need mentors. You need mentorship. Everything is so fluid that it's almost impossible to figure out what's going to happen next year, as you could not have figured out what's happening this year. That's why resilience, that's why corporate social responsibility, that's why individual social responsibility. These terms are old, and now suddenly they're again becoming an issue. Why? Because of this new paradigm called Industry 4.0. Industry 4.0 is a lot more than IoT, cloud, robotics, a lot more than that. Industry 4.0 is a way of living. It's a way of thinking. It's a way of doing business. It's a way of managing. It's a way of marketing. It's a way of strategizing. Most likely, whatever everyone knows is obsolete, no longer useful. That's why for the past year, all the classes I have been teaching, I had to redesign them with books that are no later than 2020. Dr. Saudi told me, don't use books. Simple. He was saying, use papers. He says, books are too old. That's what's happening, guys. You'd be amazed how much of your time is wasted if you don't know what you're doing. Because you could go all over the place going nowhere. Because what you just thought was important is no longer relevant. That is the difficulty. You are in need of leadership, in need of flagship projects. You are in need of people who can train you, who can mentor you, and we can do it together. That's why I would like to take this opportunity to thank my dear colleague and friend Sharif for all the good work he's doing. He is not gonna give you something that is already too old, but he is thinking to give you a future that you can be prosperous in. With that said, my hope and my aspires for Work Talent Economy Forum is great. I believe you're on the right path. I'd like to thank every one of you, especially my dear brother Dr. Foster and my dear friend Dr. Saudi for their presence, and everyone else, the researchers, Dr. Tubi Gorjian, Professor Westry, Professor Mu. Thank you so much, guys. I think as you discuss, we learn more than most likely our audience because we learn from one another. Learning is a never ending quest. I wish you the very best. And let me take this opportunity to wish everyone a happy new year. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Happy New Year! And this is really, really nice discussions. And as much as possible, we are trying to share our content with the remote area. Even I think that our guest speakers and everybody, they will be happy. Even in Himalaya, where internet is not available, we have our students, we have our organizers, we have our corporate partners in Himalayas, and they are distributing our World Talent Economy Forum content with thousands of students. So that is the way we believe that how we growing with the help of our speaker, with the help of our partner. Hopefully in between 2021 we will reach 100 million youth, and definitely not only in internet, not only in the first world, we are trying to reach the remote area people where they need lot of support. So thank you everyone for joining today's sessions. Hopefully next sessions we come up with a new idea, new thoughts, a new thing. I request all of our audience, please share our content as much as possible and do hashtag WTE Forum. Thank you everyone for joining today's session. Thank you.